Okay, so there was a Nintendo Direct, a Sony PlayStation State of Play, and the Tokyo Game Show this past week, so we've got a lot to cover. Every week I make a video highlighting any game news that interests me because although Nico and I play a lot of games, he tends to be pretty oblivious to news about them, while I'm pretty obsessed with it. So here's everything I think Nico should know about in game news the week of September 18th, 2022. On September 14th, I got an email from Square Enix with the subject line, "Notice regarding the termination of the Babylon's Fall service." It read in part, "It is with deep regret to inform you that we will be terminating the game's service after approximately 1 year of operations. The service is scheduled to end on February 27th, 2023. I had already seen the news on various websites, but I still felt a twinge of disappointment when I read it. According to The Hanging Garden, the game's official website, there will be one final season starting on November 29th and 3 waves of event missions until the service ends. Much like with BioWare's Anthem game, I felt that there was a foundation of a good game in Babylon's Fall. The combat was enjoyable, and I actually thought the oil painting art style was really cool. Platinum Games makes very cool games, but as a live service game, it didn't have that platinum polish. Several months ago, when Square Enix tweeted that they would be reassessing the game, I was hoping that they would revamp it and take the live service aspect out of it, but they likely decided that the cost-benefit ratio simply wasn't a worthwhile investment. I am a firm believer in the benefits of not falling prey to the sunk cost fallacy, so although I'm disappointed, I respect and agree with Square Enix's decisions to cut their losses now. After all, they're working on so many other cool things, best to route resources to other projects. Now on to the Nintendo Direct that aired on September 13th. We have a new trailer and finally have a name and a release date for the sequel to The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's called The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and will be releasing on the Nintendo Switch on May 12th, 2023. Given how much I enjoyed playing Breath of the Wild, even when I was banging my head against a wall trying to defeat the bosses, I can't help but look forward to this. I'm lazy, so I'm always trying to find ways to get exercise that's also fun. Fitness boxing on the Switch is fun, but I often forget that I have it. This is why I stopped buying physical copies of games, honestly. If it's already installed, I see it. If I have to stick the cartridge into the system, forget it. Anyway, there's a new version of fitness boxing coming out called Fitness Boxing Fist of the North Star. And I loved watching that anime series. You can beat up your foes and get a workout, starting in March 2023. Omae wa mou shindeiru. There's a new trailer as well as a playable demo on the Nintendo Switch for Harvestella. Scheduled to release on November 4th on both the Switch and the PC, this is just one of many farming life sim games coming out in the next year that was showcased on the Nintendo Direct. That seems to be the hot thing right now. Personally, I'm really looking forward to it. There's something quite relaxing and calming about these types of games, even when they have time limits and dungeon crawling. Square Enix announced the sequel to their HD 2D RPG Octopath Traveler, Octopath Traveler 2. So original, but hey, at least they're sticking to their weird game names. Using the same HD 2D style, there will be 8 new characters, and like the first game, each has their own story, skills, abilities, and ways they interact with NPCs and the world around them. I really enjoyed the first game, and I'm looking forward to playing this when it releases on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC on February 24th, 2023. If there's anything I love as much as video games, it's the music that goes along with them. Video game music can enhance the experience by evoking feelings as you play. Theathrhythm Final Fantasy was originally released on the Nintendo 3DS in 2012, and its sequel, Curtain Call, released in 2014. These were rhythm games that let you play through various Final Fantasy songs by timing button presses. Now we're getting a Nintendo Switch version, and it comes with 385 Final Fantasy songs from pretty much all the games in the series. There will also be special deluxe edition tracks and DLC songs from other Square Enix games such as Nier, Octopath Traveler, and Chrono Trigger, just to name a few. If you spring for the premium digital edition, which will cost you $100, you will get a total of 502 songs. Yes, that's the version I will be buying. There will also be 2-player couch co-op and 4-player online battle mode. When it comes to the music I listen to, I would say that 80% of it is game music, so I cannot wait for this. It's releasing next year on February 16th, 2023. And speaking of Final Fantasy, we got a new trailer and a release date for Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. I absolutely loved the original on PSP, and Nico always remembers it as the first game that he ever put triple digits of hours into because he wanted to 100% it. This remaster has updated graphics, an updated combat system, and it will be releasing on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC via Steam on December 13th, 2022. There was a lot of news packed into that 46-minute presentation, like incoming remasters of the first 3 Front Mission games, although personally I'm only interested in replaying the third one. And the fact that one of the best games of last year, It Takes Two, is coming to the Nintendo Switch. I highly recommend watching the whole thing at the link below. On the same day as the Nintendo Direct, Sony aired a State of Play. There were 2 things that stood out to me. The first was the announcement of a new action RPG from Team Ninja called Rise of the Ronin. It takes place during what is commonly known as the Bakumatsu portion of the Edo period, which were the last several years before the Meiji Restoration. It was a time of great change and political upheaval due to the influx of foreigners and foreign trade after centuries of isolation. Yes, I know there was some foreign trade before that, but it was very controlled. Anyway, this period is perfect for a bloody action game. I love Japanese history since I grew up watching Japanese TV with my Nisei grandmother, and she loved watching all those samurai shows. I also have a degree in Japanese language and literature, so I tend to gravitate to any game that takes place in Japan. Rise of the Ronin is releasing as a console exclusive on the PlayStation 5 sometime in 2024. Also taking place in 19th century Japan is a game from Ryuga Gotoku Studio called Like a Dragon Ishin. It's a fictionalized version of the story of Ryoma Sakamoto, a real historical figure often credited with bringing down the shogunate at the end of the Edo period. This is a Ryuga Gotoku or Like a Dragon game though, so our hero and other characters from the story are played by familiar faces from the other Like a Dragon or Yakuza games. Oh, and I should mention that Ryuga Gotoku Studio is now using Like a Dragon for all future Yakuza titles. Honestly, it's more accurate, but I think people are going to have a tough time not saying Yakuza since they're so used to it. Anyway, like all Ryuga Gotoku games, it's full of over-the-top fighting action. Personally, I love the idea of shoving umeboshi into my opponent's mouths as an attack. Ishin originally launched in Japan only on PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 in 2014. This new version will be running on the Unreal Engine 4 and will release February 22nd, 2023 on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC via Steam. P.S. I'm actually sharing the gameplay trailer instead of the Sony announced trailer here because it's just way cooler. There was a bunch of cool other stuff from the Sony State of Play, including a new story trailer for God of War Ragnarok. Check out the whole 22-minute presentation linked below. Okay, everything else is pretty much news from the Tokyo Game Show. Let's start with the news that made me want to run around my house screaming. Konami announced that they are remastering Suikoden 1 and 2. These games are easily in my top 10 JRPGs of all time. In Suikoden games, your goal is to collect the 108 Stars of Destiny in order to save the world. These are characters you recruit. You can beat the game without finding them all, but of course you get the best ending if you're successful. So funny story, I bought the second game, found all 108 stars, and beat the game. But I learned that you could unlock cool things if you had a save from the first game with all 108 stars. So I searched high and low for a used copy. I found one, beat the first game with all 108 stars, and then played through the second one again and found all 108 stars, with all the cool extras. The remasters are coming to PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam sometime in 2023. I am so going to play these again. Sega treated us to a new trailer for Sonic Frontiers. Honestly, they should have started with these more recent trailers for their marketing campaign instead of those weird soulless demo things. Featuring music from Japanese rock band One OK Rock, this trailer looks more like what we'd expect from a new Sonic adventure. It's releasing on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PC via Steam on November 8th, 2022. Sega also announced 2 more Like a Dragon games. The first is Like a Dragon 8, featuring Kazuma Kiryu and Ichiban Kasuga, both from previous Like a Dragon or Yakuza games. Looks like it will be another RPG-style game, which suits me just fine. You know what would be cool though? RPG combat when you're using Ichiban, and beat-em-up combat when you're using Kiryu. The other game is called Like a Dragon Gaiden, the man who erased his name, and it focuses on Kiryu during the time between Yakuza 6 and Like a Dragon 8. Okay, is it just me or is this already getting confusing with the 2 titles? Anyway, both titles are releasing on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC, with Like a Dragon 8 in 2024 and Like a Dragon Gaiden in 2023. We got a new trailer for Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I've enjoyed the Star Ocean series since I first discovered it on PS1 with Star Ocean: The Second Story, which was the first Star Ocean game released outside of Japan. There's something about this series that reminds me of Star Trek, believe it or not. In this story-focused trailer, they even make mention of something that's very similar to the Prime Directive. The trailer also features a theme song from Hyde, the lead singer of the Japanese rock band L'Arc-en-Ciel. It's been 6 years since our last Star Ocean game, so I am definitely looking forward to this. The console versions will have a demo available starting on September 20th, and the full game is releasing on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC via Steam next month on October 27th. There's a new trailer for Dragon Quest Treasures from Square Enix. I love the Dragon Quest series, and this reminds me a little of the Dragon Quest Monsters spin-off games that were mostly released on Nintendo's handhelds. Think Pokémon with a Dragon Quest skin. This new version, however, actually lets the two main characters battle as well as the monsters they collect. I'm really looking forward to treasure hunting with slimes and drakis. It's releasing on Nintendo Switch on December 9th. And last but not least, we have a new trailer for Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes from 505 Games. I've mentioned before that people consider this to be a spiritual successor to Suikoden, and I can't wait to play it. It's releasing on PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, and PC sometime in 2023. And that's it for game news this week. Are you still here? I'm amazed that I'm still here, to be honest. That was a lot, and I cut out so much. We share tons of game trailers in our Discord, so you should definitely come check it out. We talk about games too. I am bound and determined to finally finish Xenoblade Chronicles 3 this week so that I can move on to something new. Anyway, join me again next week for more news and adventure. Until then, play lots of games and have an awesome week.